I expected the fireworks to go off. I think as I do this speech, I'm going to get dizzy as I walk around. So if I suddenly fall down in a heap, then I apologize. Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, and distinguished guests, it's a great pleasure for me to be invited to this year's GCF and to have the opportunity to address you today at a lunch to recognize all the finalists of the most competitive youth awards. Congratulations. Ladies, congratulations. Every day I give thanks to what a great life I have, and every day I wish I was 30 years younger. I can't think of a more exciting time to be a youth growing up in today's world. As the father of two teenage boys, I marvel at their world and how much it has changed in recent years. Yet I think that the real change is still to come with advances in global economies, global culture, and technology. This future is full of great promise, and it must be exciting to be a youth today with so much in front of you. I'm more than a little jealous. So, I'm very happy to be speaking to you today, and I do commend the organizers for introducing such an initiative at this year's forum. So I was flying over here from Los Angeles, and I started to think about what topic would be appropriate to address to you today. Here you are, testaments to the optimism of today's youth and tomorrow's leaders. Shining examples of creativity, innovation, leadership, and community engagement. What possibly could I talk to you about? What advice could I offer a room filled with so much talent? Well, obviously, I advise you to be bold, to be brave, and be determined. Also, to be honest with yourself and with others, and to look to honesty amongst others as a true indication of their talent. With honesty comes trust. And trust is a very valuable commodity. Trust your judgment and seek trust in others. You gain trust through your actions. So always lead by example and never follow those things or people you yourself don't trust. Learn to express yourself freely and correctly. In a world where information is available at the push of a button, the skill of communication is going to be paramount. Anyone can have access to information today. How you interpret and use that information is going to be very, very important. You're also going to be communicating on a global level. Now, when I was young, if I wanted to express myself and have myself heard, the best thing I could probably do was stand on a street corner and shout. Or I could write a letter. Remember that? Letters, writing to a friend. Today, all you need to do is set up a Facebook account, and you can express yourself to anyone in the world. When I was young, I maybe only had a dozen friends. I wasn't that popular. My eldest son has over 1,200 friends on Facebook. That digital community is today's street corner. So learn how to use it wisely, and remember that your digital life can never be erased. Now, technology is making the world a smaller place, so make as much effort as you can to learn as much as you can about it. Don't be ignorant or arrogant. The world is full of enough people like that already. Finally, though, and maybe most importantly, learn how to fail. We've heard that many times this morning in the sessions, but this is a very important and oftentimes overlooked value. But if you can master failure, you're going to be a better person for it, especially in the world of creativity and innovation. Let me expand. Now, it's true the word failure conjures up negative connotations at first, but I also think that failure is a vital ingredient of innovation, creativity, and success. In order to achieve those three things, one has to affect change, and change often is accompanied by fear. As human beings, we just don't like change. It doesn't sit comfortably with us. I think it's vital to overcome our fear of change and our fear of failure. Much of my job is encouraging people who work for me to push the limits of innovation and creativity and embrace failure as an integral part of the process. The greatest inventions are the result of much failure. Think of a research scientist trying to invent a new life-saving drug. That new drug is developed through rounds and rounds of failure. But rather than get disillusioned with each failure, the scientists learn from their experience and try to improve the next time round. As you go forward in your own lives, try to foster an environment where risks are encouraged and failure is tolerated. If you remove the fear of failure, great things can happen. And if you don't fail at first, then you're probably not trying hard enough. I also think it's really important to learn how to fail fast. I can't tell you how many times within Disney I come across initiatives that you know are never going to truly add value, or they've outlasted their time. But for some reason, people persevere with them, when the best thing to do would be to stop or close them down. In today's world of rapid change, legacy and complacency are your enemy. Just because something worked last year doesn't mean it's going to work today. I hear so many excuses or reasons why a particular initiative should be kept going, oftentimes linked to the people who are invested in the project being too close to be objective. You need to be disciplined and learn to fail fast. Being relevant is what matters. Now, I want to give you a couple of examples, positive and negative, about how to dealing with failure. How many in the room listen to portable music? I imagine the vast majority of you. Now, I imagine the vast majority of you today listen to portable music on an iPod or a similar Apple-type device. Now, if I'd asked you that same question 10, 15 years ago, your answer would have been a Sony Walkman. Sony owned the portable music space. Yet, through a mixture of arrogance, internal fighting, and fear of failure, they ceded pretty much the entire market to Steve Jobs and his talented team. Sony tried to hold on to their legacy. Apple moved forward with innovation and creativity. Steve realized that the success of portable music didn't lay solely in the device, but in the way people wanted to consume music, one track at a time, and the user interface, iTunes. Apple learned how to fail fast. Here's a question for you. What does Apple make? The answer is nothing. If you look on the back of your iPod pads that you've been given or an Apple product, you will see that it says designed in Cupertino, assembled in China or somewhere similar. So while Sony, Nokia, Motorola, and others invested in plants to manufacture hardware, Apple focused on the software and the user interface, outsourcing the manufacturing process. So when Apple thinks that their current range of iPods have failed and better versions can be produced, they fail fast. And they can turn out a whole new range of products, as they recently did, without worrying about the invested capital in infrastructure and the such like. It's been a very smart strategy in today's world and has been rewarded by investors. Steve himself is also a great example of how failure may be part of success. I don't know how many of you remember the Apple Newton, but if you go online and Google it, you'll see it was Apple's first real attempt at handheld computing. It was created in 1987 and spawned the term Personal Digital Assistant, or PDA. It was the predecessor of this iPad. I think Steve himself would admit it wasn't the greatest product, and it was way ahead of its time. In fact, the Newton project was cancelled when Steve was fired from Apple. However, when he returned as CEO, the first thing he did was pick the project up again, and in fact, two ex-Newton developers founded a company called Pixo, which made the operating system for the first iPod. So rather than be dejected by failure, the team at Apple learned from their mistakes and moved forward. They decided that rather than try and do everything moderately, it was better to choose to do one thing, music, brilliantly. Through continual iterations, you had generations of more complex iPods, then iPhones, and finally iPads. All built on success through the ability to recognize failure. At Disney, innovation and creativity are at the very heart of our company. As I mentioned in the panel discussion this morning, we have teams of Imagineers, researchers, and creatives all looking to be innovative and push the boundaries. It's accepted that with that push will come some failures, but we learn to embrace failure, we learn from it, and we fail fast. We need to do that to remain as relevant to consumers today as the company did when Walt started it all those years ago. So as you go on to what I'm sure will be extraordinary lives, please embrace failure as your friend. Show it respect, but never be afraid. Many thanks and congratulations once again. Thank you.